and not great health outcomes for other people. All at the intersection of institutions, systems, race, age, religion, all of these different identities and how they come together at the intersection of life. So improving our conditions is actually a matter of health justice. And it's also a matter of the redistribution of power and energy. Well, I think it fits in very nicely with what journalism does, right? Just bringing those conversations about how we're creating the world we live in, and also who is a part of creating the world we live in. So that question around who is a part of creating the world we live in directly also impacts our health outcomes. I have a cool little video, but we're not going to show that. It's only like 50 seconds long, but I'll send it out. And it's just a quick overview on the social science. And it really helps you to understand how these inequities can happen. So really quick, before we dive into the social determinant I talked about today that has a lot to do with tree canopy and forestry, there are 5 social determinants. If you ever want to hear about the other 4, just give me a call. I love talking about that. So one of them is economic stability, right? How much access you have to a financial resource, your working conditions, your access to employment, and there's a lot of other things around that bucket, but basically your economic stability. And whether you have it or you have instability, it's going to greatly impact your health outcomes in the immediate and over time. And many of these things actually all
are environmental inequities. These aren't just like natural things that happen. They actually happen because of public policy that was created to like cement in inequities, or in the absence of public policy protect, right? So just that actually, some people hear that and they think like, oh, that means nothing can be done. But I hear that not going to be very hopeful because it means created all of this kind of inequity, which means we can create something better and we can build something better anytime we want to. It's not as easy as that, I understand, but it's not impossible either. Inequities are not a natural occurrence. So I'm actually going to skip through this, but just briefly, individuals without vehicle access, vehicle or access to public transportation, who do not have food menus, healthy choices. So just overall, this is an example about how built environment impacts our ability to access health. Literally, like the food we eat, or being able to get to a park like this when we don't have walkable space, and we don't have access to public transportation, or we probably want to encourage more of that other than vehicle. But if we have something like this in your community, you're not even able to get to it because you don't live in a walkable space or a space that you can walk to public transit, we're really also like deep beneath that. And lastly, I just want to take a note about children. So children and adolescents who are exposed to, remember, there's a connection between there's a connection between built environment and crime and safety. So children and adolescents exposed to violence are at risk for poor long-term behavioral mental health outcomes, regardless of whether they are victims, direct witness, or hear about the crime. And so it is in also like our health best interest to make sure we have safe neighborhoods, and there is a connection between making them not just walkable, but also more pleasant. And so there has been, like I said, an implication between the creation of and safer neighborhoods, which overall would be good for our mental health and our physical health, for ourselves as adults, but particularly for our children. Okay, so how many of you have seen the Founded State Pain Index? Silicon Valley Pain Index by Founded State. Yes, I know you're very good. Thank you very much. You have someone who is a part of that here. So one of the data points there, I live in East San Jose. I often sometimes will walk with colleagues to Rose Garden. Rose Garden, obviously beautiful and canopy, very walkable. East San Jose, we have some walkable spaces. Where I live is not canopied, it is very hot. Anytime I leave, it's also very bright. I kind of sidewalk, and it's difficult to get to a grocery store or the spaces in a way that's walkable. Because not only would I have to, I've actually walked with my son once, and I won't do that again, because not only do I have to get from my house to where the grocery store is, once I get to the grocery store, which is not that unsafe actually, but when I get to the grocery store, getting from the corner of the parking lot to the front of the grocery store is very unsafe. But in other places it's very walkable. So this stat from the Silicon Valley Pain Index says there's a 5.2 degree difference in Fahrenheit on the average temperature in the Rose Garden in East San Jose. Even though it's just 6 miles apart. And the former Rose Garden has 3.5 times more tree covering at 27% less. Right? I mean, that's like a real example right now of there's an actual temperature difference in just a 6 mile difference. And there are people who I'm sure would love to live in a walkable space that cannot. And a lot of that has to do with not just the sidewalk, right? Not just who lives there, but the fact that it has is a really big difference. I had some other stats here about health in general, but I think I've made that point, right? Obviously, if you don't have access to health, you have increased rates of obesity, diabetes, other types of chronic conditions. Like tree canopies support that because not only they make you walk, it's more pleasant to walk in, it's not as hot. That also makes it less. It also stress and pedestrians, cyclists, okay, so that's coming here to a close. Really what I wanted to leave you all today with was an understanding, one baseline understanding of the social determinants and how this is also a public health personal health topic. This is a health topic, right? Because it's about the redistribution or the distribution in general of our resources. And it is actually a pretty brilliant investment that we can make in healthier, happier, safer neighborhoods. So some studies have shown walkable neighborhoods created by investment, street and sidewalk infrastructure and a few questions to think about. You don't have to stop them all. Oh, if you feel compelled, feel free. You can think about it to yourself. How has your health been impacted by neighborhood and built environment? Is your neighborhood and built environment making it easier or harder for you to be healthy or achieve healthy outcomes? And this is the question I was asking myself over the weekend in preparation for this. How might investment in trees and tree canopies improve your condition and maybe even impact multiple social determinants of your health?